I know something about you. You are afraid to take action. And I don't mean that in some general way, but right now on your to-do list, there is some super valuable task that will make a difference in your health, in one of your relationships, in the work that you do that you are not doing because you are afraid of that action. And it's not because I'm like some mind reader who can see into your heart and mind from a great distance. But the reason I know this is true is because if you weren't afraid of taking that action, you would have already taken that action. But you're not. And that is what we're going to explore today. Today, as we continue our Healing Fundamental series, we're going to look at those super valuable actions that we aren't doing and what we can do right now to change it so we actually take those actions consistently. This is Gene Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 569, originally aired July 26, 2023. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to join me. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Today, we're going to spend some time continuing to unpack our healing fundamentals, and we're going to be looking at the fundamental that is, if it wasn't for resistance to change, the change would have already happened. And we're going to break that apart in lots of different ways. Now, before we do that, we're going to be spending time talking about the subconscious mind, figuring out resistance, but we can't think our way out of resistance. Because if we could think our way out of resistance, posters with little kitties saying, hang in there, and inspirational bumper stickers would be enough for us to create change in our life. But instead, we can't think change into the subconscious mind. We actually have to do something to create that change. For me, the tool that works the best is something that is called tapping. I use it every single day with myself. I use it consistently with my clients. If you are unfamiliar with tapping, all you need to do right now is follow the little red arrow in the upper right-hand corner. Click on the link up there. It will take you to learntotap.com, where you're going to get the basic instruction on tapping. So it is so much easier for you to engage with the content that we're doing here, but much more importantly, you will have access to a new tool that's going to make it easier for you to clear resistance and take the action that you want. When it comes to taking action, the easiest way to take action is when three things are true. When we know what to do, when we know why we want to do it, and we know how to do that thing. So when we know what to do, when we know why to do it, when we know how to do it, it makes it so much easier to take action. That is the simple summation of how we move forward. Except for the fact it's not, because there is a simple problem. And the simple problem lands at this. When it comes to taking action, we are always going to do the highest value task that is emotionally safe. And let me say that again. When we take action, we will always do the highest value task that feels emotionally safe. And so what I would encourage you to do right now is, if you have it nearby, take a look at your to-do list. Look at the tasks that are there for you. And as you look at the tasks, or as you think about the tasks that are on your to-do list right now, it doesn't take very long for you to put those in order of value. Now, maybe if you have 10 things on the list, it might be hard deciding what's second and what's third. But if we were to break our to-do list into thirds, like the most value, the second most value, the third most value, very easily and very, very quickly, you could sort those things out. But we do not do the most valuable task. For me, on any given day, the three most valuable tasks on the top of my to-do list are more valuable than the rest of my to-do list combined. If every single day I did the three highest value tasks in my business, in my relationships, in my health, they would surge forward and be so much better. Now, they wouldn't be perfect because there's still other things that need to be done, but boy, would it make all of that so much easier. But the problem is the high value tasks, because they are high value tasks, there are stakes attached to those things. And since they are high value and since they are stakes, they're scary. I could reach out to this person who I want to joint venture with, and they're going to say no. So I'm not going to do that task right now because I don't want to hear no. So I'm going to go to the next thing on the list. And so what happens is we get caught between having really high value tasks and emotionally not feeling safe doing those high value tasks. That's the reason why I say we are always going to do the highest valued task that is emotionally safe, which means that right now, like I said at the top, there are tasks that you are afraid to do. And I don't necessarily mean afraid like everything is going to go wrong, but on some level, there is some danger. It might not work out. You might not get the results that you want. You might be rejected by the person on the other side of that particular action. And so again, we float down into that middle third of the to-do list. For me, I recognize this so much about myself that I actually have a rule. The rule is if I have a task on my to-do list and I create a new to-do list every single day, if I have a task on my to-do list that I move to a second day, move to a third day, and move to a fourth day, so I've moved it 3 times, the rule is I have to set up an appointment with my practitioner. Because obviously there is so much resistance about this super high valued task, and even having tools like I have to be able to transform my subconscious mind to be able to take action so they don't feel so scary. Even with that being true, apparently I'm unwilling or unable or don't have the resource state to do that. So I need to reach for help from the outside. So it's important for us to recognize that fact. It's not just about understanding what to do or why it's valuable or how to do it, because that is not enough for us to consistently take action. Now, occasionally you might be able to just through the sheer will force your way into doing something that is really, really hard. But that is few and far between. Willpower is great for getting us out of the street. It is horrible at getting us to do a valuable task persistently. And so that's why it's so important that we are paying attention to the resistance that we have around these super high value tasks. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to teach you a really simple way to figure out what the resistance is to taking that task. Then, once we understand that resistance, then we can look at strategies for us to be able to handle that particular thing. So what I want you to do, again, if you have your to-do list nearby, look down at your to-do list. If not, just think about the things that need to be done. And what I want you to do is I want you to think about a task that is important for you to do, that's valuable for you to do, but for some reason you just haven't gotten around to it. And more than likely it's, oh, I'm busy, I don't have enough time, I want to make sure I do it right. I don't care what the excuse is, but there's something that you're avoiding, and I want you to imagine that task. So take a nice big deep breath. And I want you to imagine that task. So for me, the task that immediately comes to mind is I want to not just invite someone, but I actually need to challenge a peer of mine to step up. So it's not just like, hey, join me, but it's like, hey, I need you to join me because you have a platform that other people are going to benefit from you joining us and promoting a very particular cause. So you can see how that could be a little bit emotionally dicey by pushing someone in that particular way. So take a nice big deep breath, imagine your task. And as you do that, I want you to imagine the resistance that comes up. So as I imagine reaching out to this person and challenging them, inviting them in very direct language to join me in something that I think is important, the thing that shows up is there is a tightness and a heaviness in my chest. So wherever the resistance shows up for you, pay attention to that. Now, it might not be in the body. It might feel like a wall that is in front of you, or reins that are pulling you back, or a chattering voice inside of your head. For me, oftentimes it shows up in the body, but that's not the case, always the case. So pay attention to where it is for you. So it lands inside of my chest. And so now there are 2 questions that we are going to ask this resistance to figure out what is going on. So the first question we ask is, what is the resistance afraid of? And you'll notice I didn't say, what am I afraid of? Because I'm not trying to figure out intellectually what I'm afraid of, because I'm not going to diagnose it accurately. I actually want to hear from the tension. So as I tune into this heaviness, this tightness in my chest, and I say, what are you afraid of? What I hear back is, they're going to feel like you're being demanding. They're going to feel like you're being aggressive, and they're never going to want to work with you again. And so then the second question we ask ourselves after we have that information is, great, I'm going to ask the sensation again in my chest. What proof does it have that this is a possibility or a probability? And as I tune into that, what I hear is there have been people who have made demands of me in the past, and the way they made those demands I didn't like, and I felt like I was being told what to do, and I'm afraid I'm going to act in a very similar way. So now we have this really excellent information. I have what I'm actually afraid of. I'm afraid of that I'm going to look pushy, and not only is they going to say no, but it's going to hurt our relationship in the future. And I have some proof from my own experience where people haven't treated me in the way that I would like to be treated when being communicated in that way. So now what we can do is we can do some tapping in response to that. And so for me, there's two parts to this particular tapping in a version of tapping that I just call self-coaching, where I'm going to be giving myself advice. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on what is going on. The second thing I'm going to tap on is I'm going to coach myself. So this is what it looks like. So I want you to tune into your issue. And even though my phrases aren't going to match up, just tune into your issue and tap along with me. I recognize the fact there is a part of me that's afraid that I am going to make this request. And not only are they going to reject my request, they're going to think I'm pushy. They're going to think I'm demanding. They're going to think I'm expecting too much. And professionally, I need this relationship. Not just in the short term, but also in the long term. And I don't want to mess this up. And I'm afraid to be too pushy. So you'll notice all I did there was I just shared the facts as I understand them. This is what's going on. This is what I'm afraid of. This is why I'm afraid of it. Just that simple. Now, the second part of the process is you now pretend one of your friends has told you the exact same thing. Because we're really bad at giving ourselves advice, but we're really good at giving other people advice. And so now we tap again, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to tune into how we would be advising someone else in this particular scenario. And so the way that looks is to just tap like this. And again, tap along with me, even though you're not tapping for the exact same issue I am. I also recognize the fact it is possible for me to make this approach in such a way where I'm not being aggressive. I'm not being demanding. I'm not expecting them to follow along. I also recognize the fact that something as delicate as this, having an actual conversation, would be so much better than sending it over an email. Because if I do it as a conversation, my tone will be understood. If I do it over video, I can even see the way that they are responding, so that it is easier for me to calibrate my words, to calibrate my tone, to calibrate my message. Nice deep breath. And so now, as I tune into that task and reaching out to that person, I want to send them an email right now and say, hey, let's have a conversation. And so you can see it's pretty easy and straightforward. First, we have to notice the task that we're avoiding. Second, we need to find out why we're avoiding that task. What is the fear that is hiding in the subconscious mind because it might not be available to us in the conscious mind? Again, the way we do that, we tune into the resistance, we ask it what it's afraid of, we ask it what proof it has, and there isn't always going to be proof, but it doesn't matter. That gives us information. And then the third step is we tap our way through it and we do a little self-coaching. Self-coaching step 1 is state what I'm feeling, state the facts as I understand them. Step 2, give advice as a friend. Now, at the end of a process like this, if you tune back into the issue, if there's still resistance, you have two options. One is repeat the process again. The other is recognizing the fact that, oh, this might be an issue that I'm too close to, and I actually might need to reach out for some help and have a friend, a colleague, my practitioner work with me. Because again, I am really, really good at this stuff. I teach this stuff all the time. That's part of the reason why you are listening to me in this particular moment. And just because that's the case doesn't mean that I can get through my own stuff on my own. That's the reason why I have that rule. If I move it 3 days, I have to set up a meeting with my practitioner, because that's the little governor inside of my head that says we need to respond to this in that way. So that is healing fundamental number 6. If it wasn't resistance to change, the change would already happen. Kind of the subtopic that goes along with that is we will always do the highest value task that is emotionally safe. And I hope in this conversation, I've demonstrated how you can take a really valuable task and move it from being emotionally unsafe to being emotionally safe. If you've enjoyed this fundamental, on the screen right now, you can see a link to a playlist where every single one of these healing and transformational fundamentals are being gathered together. Every single week, we are adding a new one. So right now you can go back and you can check out the entire history, or you can check out the new ones as they come forward. For Tapping Q&A, this is Monterastelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.